Hi, I'm Nicole, a grade 3-4 multi-age teacher at Amber Trails Community School, and this is my thinking and learning from experiential education. One of the first takeaways was the idea of a miseducative habits and experiences. Dewey speaks to how miseducative habits lead to miseducative experiences. This idea made me reflect on how many times I have led learners astray with one of my one-off activities with non-existent deeper meaning. I now think about this daily in my practice. Robert speaks to a miseducative phenomenon known as the McDonaldization of education. Taking the principles of the fast food industry's ability to mass produce the same product is what we are unfortunately witnessing in education today. Learners are all given the same curricula, same expectations, and to produce and possess the same knowledge, it's all rooted in convenience. How can this possibly develop deeper thinking and agency amongst our learners? Teaching and learning are not the same. Teaching is presenting and learning is thinking. Robert speaks about experiential education as a river with multiple currents. I view educators as the undertow. We have the strength and understanding to guide our learners to learning that is meaningful, relevant, and deep, ultimately guiding them to be able to make connections to self, each other, and the world. Leanne Simpson and other Indigenous scholars have spoken to the disconnect between modern education and Indigenous knowledge. The vignette of the boy and his discovery of the maple syrup really struck with me. The knowledge keepers were there for the boy, having the knowledge that he was seeking, yet instead of directly giving him facts and instructions, stop thinking questions, they gave him open-ended thinking questions, where he came to understandings independently. The difference between nature and wilderness. This brings up the idea worth noting about strange lands, the notion that an experience needs to have an immersion in a new environment beyond the walls of a classroom. Learners need to be able to see, smell, hear, touch, and even taste the ideas that they are learning to develop deeper thinking. Leanne Simpson speaks to consent in education, specifically the why and the how. Learners need to understand why they are learning what they are, and as well to have a say in the process of how. When they are detached from thinking, they are more detached from the learning. Like a wave in the ocean that moves majestically through its course, learning must mimic this style of ingenuity. Learning is at its best when flow is achieved, where the skills required and the challenge of content meet, like the wave perfectly cresting and becoming one with the water, and repeat. Praxis, informed actus, and phronesis, one's disposition to act truly and rightly. Learners need to know the why and the how. This evidence is content will lead them down a path to develop their passion within the learning, to engage them to seek out more, all while developing a strong will to act. Robert speaks to how schools are more concerned with the distribution of norms than skills, and that schools are mechanisms of social reconstruction, not transformation. We need to use the learning from the past to transform the future of our thinking and world. Like the butterfly, we can nurture and grow as a caterpillar, filling our minds with all the information that we need, then take the time to reflect and come out the other side transformed with a new way of living and perspective on the world. After experiencing the WAG, the idea of an educative curator resonated with me. As educators, we need to have a strong understanding of what information or priming the pump our learners need to possess to fully engage with and learn within an experience. Like our curator at the WAG, educators need to move away from the direct teaching paradigm and become a curator of experience. Two models of experiential education that I want to explore with my class more are community-based learning and the integrated learning model. Using these models of study to think about how to deepen the learning experience for my 3-4s in such a way as service learning, community-based research projects, and mentorship initiatives both within and outside the school population. Throughout this course, in readings and class discussions, and upon my own reflections, the theme of real world versus school world consistently reappears. I am now constantly thinking about how to meaningfully connect the learning within our classroom to something that is currently happening in our world, as a problem globally, nationally, within our province, or within our own community. Robert speaks to how learning embraces risk and fear. When we are stale or simply going through the motions of the mundane worksheets or day-to-day tasks, our brains are not in flow. If we do not feel uncomfortable, we aren't feeling unsure, then we most likely are not learning through an experience. Climate change is the overarching theme within my classroom this year. We will be infusing the science, social studies, ELA, and math curriculums into this year-long inquiry. When curating the experience design assignment, I was able to draw upon many ideas from this course to conduct and write a backwards design plan. The art of framing, concrete experience, reflection, and synthesis learning cycle allowed me to design an experience for my learners that will be deeply meaningful and connected to future learning. At this point in the next few slides, I'm going to take you through my understanding of the experiential learning cycle, starting with framing. Roberts describes framing as how you set up an experience with your learners. Framing sets learners up for having a transformative experience. In my class, I often frame with a short video clip that uses the shock and awe technique, thus making my learners eager to learn more, as well as more deeply invested. This moves into the experience. The framework of theirs, ours, theirs resonates with me. How can I take what we have framed and the interest of the learners, then introduce them to new learning and concepts to have them take back their learning and transform their thinking? Think time and time for reflection are incredibly important aspects of the experiential cycle. Learners need to reflect and hear others' reflections in order to push their learning forward. These reflections can be in the form of a turn and talk, think, pair, share, whole class sharing circles, or written responses and exit slips. Finally, the learners need to be able to synthesize their learning through the design process. This thinking should then guide them to future learning. Having learners understand how they see the bigger picture and theme of learning are big takeaways. As educators, we need to think of how this learning will be remembered in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. As educators and curators of an experience, we are accountable to assess what our learners know. As Roberts puts it so simply, how do we know what we are doing is working? Both summative and formative assessments are critical. Giving learners feedback throughout the process will drive their learning as well as their thinking. The final assessment of learning should come as no surprise to them in relation to the feedback that they have received. Finally, learners need to demonstrate their learning and thinking in a way that signifies ownership. The learning should not be solely about a product. However, in my experience, learners truly have so much pride in showcasing their learning to an audience other than myself. And at the heart, experiential learning is meant to be shared with many. And learners need to be given an opportunity to do so. Thank you for watching and listening. Now back to experiencing. Follow This is 3 and 4 on Instagram for more of our journey.